Hi, my name's Brody Moore, also known as Liefx, and I wanted to bring back my podcast, but I figured I needed to restructure it and change it with all the things I've learned throughout the years, and the format I had before on the Rocket League Dojo just didn't quite fit where everything had moved to in the scene. So while trying to figure out what the podcast should be, I decided there's no better way to figure out than just to start doing it. And I decided I just want to sit down, press record, and have a conversation with some people in the scene. And these are going to be the result of it. Things may continue to change and grow, and the format might move around as I continue to do these. But for now, we hit record, we have a conversation. There's going to be some Rocket League talk, of course, but things are going to digress quite a bit. And if that sounds like something that's interesting to you, then you're in the right place. Stick around. If not, appreciate you watching this far. But if you do watch through, thank you for clicking. Thank you for watching. And I hope you enjoy whatever it is we're doing here. Okay. Wave, I tried to get you to show this at the beginning here just a few moments ago, but my recording messed up, and now we're good. So this was a brilliant idea for fidget spinners.
Yes. This is instead of a normal fidget spinner, I will turn any small object into a fidget. I'll just sit here and just take a USB and just plug it back
He's
in
trying
again.
to figure out the new
I'll do
red
all
of
sorts of
physics.
things, but I have two of these just randomly from way back in the day. Rocket League used to do these. Oh my gosh, I'm throwing them all over the place. Used to have these like toy cars. They're wind up cars, right? So you pull them back and then they go. They're just like a toy car, kind of like a Hot Wheels. I'll hold it by the front wheels sometimes and just spin it like this, almost like a fidget spinner. Or what's more fun is to hold the back wheels and try to like spin it forward, like wind it up, and then let it go. Oh, I probably gone the wrong direction.
He's just trying to fight fate.
Yes, and then let it go.
Look at that.
The poor driver is just having a terrible day.
I actually have a bunch. Oh, it's just off camera here, but you can't really see them. They're behind here, but I actually do have those too. So I think I found my new fidget.
They're fun. You know, I always wish I had something more to do with them. I'll like wind them up and like roll them on my desk and like, there's nowhere for it to go. Like it runs into my notes or something. But
okay, well, I'm not gonna keep on. I could use this to transition to a couple of topics right now. One, Rocket League. Why not? Or two, cars. Let's start there. Yeah, because you've been going to like meetups and stuff. Like you've been getting more into cars. Are you like a big gearhead at all, or are you just kind of like, hey, I casual like showing up to these events?
I'm not the biggest gearhead. I love the idea of speed and machines. I like the idea of a car not working kind of stresses me out, which I've literally been having like a genuine existential crisis around the concept of race cars, because cars going fast and like beating each other in speed is so cool to me. And I love getting into hobbies. I love getting more and more invested in things. I love investing in learning the craft. And then as I get better at something, investing in the gear of the craft and having slightly better gear.
It's expensive.
Yeah, cars is very expensive, right? But it's okay. Like once you have the initial investment up front, right? It's okay. It's not going to be that bad. And that's not true at all. They usually, like if you're into painting or music or hunting, or bird watching or whatever, like there's this general understanding that with the gear that you buy, you're getting it's going to in some way be better at what it does than the cheaper version of it, and generally it will last longer if you take good care of it. This is not true about expendable parts of a hobby, right? So like paints, right? They'll be better at what they do, but you're still painting, right? Bullets you're using single-use objects. The thing is, in racing, your car is not a single-use object, but it is an expendable part of the experience, because cars are this concept where it's like it's literally an explosion. It's an explosion that's in such a box that's so tight that they can only go out one way, and it moves this wall, and it moves the wall of the box that spins a rod, and then another explosion happens that moves the wall and spins the rod the other half, right? And that's how an engine works. It's like just two explosions happening, going do 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 do, making this rod go like this. But explosions don't like to be in boxes, so you have to make a box that's really, really good at not being broken, so that you can just spin the rod without the car breaking. Basically, cars are literally trying to tear themselves apart all the times, but our commercial cars that we buy from a dealership are built to be so safe and so secure that they can't tear themselves to pieces. But what they sacrifice with that is speed. They are always sacrificing speed, and like traction. And so a race car is, how close can we get to the line of the car making itself explode as possible, so we can go as fast as possible? Because the less secure your car is, the less weight is the main way you make a car more safe, right? So by making the engine lighter, making the box a little bit less safe, you can make the car go faster, but it'll probably break soon. And I literally have this like whole, like it drove me crazy for years that I'm like, I literally, to have a race car, you have to be like, you can't become attached to it, because it's
going to break
die
at some point.
Like, if it's not going to break, you're not going to win. Like, there's no, if you're not trying to break it, you're not like trying really. And there was a part of me that was like, I don't like this. I want to be able to like have my car.
That's
my thing that I've put a lot of time into, and we go out and we race, have a bond with this car. And once I kind of reframed it as anime and started thinking about, like, like anime villains and superheroes in the movies, they're like fighting, and they are literally, the only way they win their fights, they have to go above and beyond what their body can do, and they kind of expend themselves. Tanjiro and Deku, like, are they're always like sacrificing their limbs for the sake of protecting the people they care about. Once I framed it as like race cars are literally destroying themselves for the sake of just trying to get past each other, I was like, okay, that's kind of cool. It's kind of metal. Still doesn't make me want to go buy one though. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, you asked, do I like cars? And well, existential crisis has been happening around that question recently. So I don't know. There's a lot to it.
Yeah, it's interesting because you're almost now framing this as like, okay, is this the what is the actual motivator behind this hobby that I've gotten into? Because there are different routes. Every hobby has its own like niche of the niche, right? So you're like, okay, do I like racing, or do I just like how my car looks? And you said there's also the element of bonding in that, and you're trying to figure out which. I guess you can have both, but not with the car that you have. Like you'd have to know you have some sacrificial vehicles.
Yeah, no, all of it's fun, all of it's great, and I have moved more into the aesthetic stance side of the car scene recently because of that. I was in a car club for a while, and the car clubs are usually themed around one side or the other, either performance or show. We kind of had both, and everyone in my club who was modifying their car, it was a Mustang club specifically, everyone who was modifying their Mustangs for power was you just put them on a timer. Like at max, that timer's 3 months long. At minimum, it's 2 weeks long. Their car's going to be broken, and it's going to be going 0 miles an hour. That was the problem. They're always like, they're like, oh, my car's going to be so fast. I'm like, your car is sitting in a garage with the engine out and just in a block off to the side. Your car's not going anywhere. Stop talking about how fast your car is. And it always like kind of drove me crazy. So I have trended more towards the style side of things. And the truth is, like, at the end of the day, my car it's fast, but it's not a race car. It's not a car that is being built to be fast. So the cars that are being built to be fast are always going to be faster than mine, but I don't care. Speed is so much of a sensation. It's so much about like a go-kart on the ground going 40 miles an hour will feel so much faster than a plane going 700 miles an hour at 10,000 feet. So it's much more important to me to have that sensation than to have actual objective speed. And so taking my car that I've styled in a way that I like, but that is still a decent performance vehicle up into the mountains and driving, going canyon carving and not trying to beat any records. I actually very specifically don't allow myself to time myself through those roads.
Smart.
Because if I do, then I'll start to be like, I can push it a little bit on this corner trying to beat the time, and then that's how you go over cliffs. I do know people who have gone over cliffs.
Wow.
So it's terrifying. And if that happened to me, I think I would buy a Prius, or I would just take the bus. I'd be like, I'm out of cars. I'm not allowed to do this anymore.
It's done, because you push the limit. It's true though with the sensation though, because I've been in vehicles where you look down, like a bigger truck, like a pickup or something, and you're like, wait, I'm going this fast? Like, it does not feel like you're moving at all. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh my God, I'm going 100 or 60 miles per hour. And I did not realize I was going that fast.
Yeah, no. California in general on the highways, especially in Southern California around LA, if there's no one on the highway, everybody is going at least 85. Like I'll be going 90 and still be getting passed by people. I'll be cruising at 90, right? It's a pretty crazy environment. And there was one time my partner and we came on a highway and it was like 4 lanes wide, nobody around us. We had been going about like 85 and we slowed down to 60 to like do a pull and like go as fast as possible, and like we slowed down to 60 and she was like, we are crawling.
It feels like you're going nowhere.
Yeah, we're going nowhere, which is crazy because your brain gets used to the sensation of the road going past at a certain speed. But yeah, it's all about relativity. And so once I realized that, I stopped caring as much about like
top end,
objective top speed. You know, it's more just about I just want to have that sensation more often, which is why I like NASCAR, because it's true. You're just going fast the whole time instead of. Racing is about speed for me, and stopping and braking is the opposite of speed. So the less braking you have to do in the racing, the more I like it, which is why I've always enjoyed arcade racers and video games.
Well, it's interesting because I wonder how do you feel about like rally racing and stuff? I really like the mechanical aspect of it, but having to slow down properly and shifting that. I've always enjoyed that.
Incredibly impressive. It's incredibly impressive. It's always like I have a sim rig sitting right here where I have a TV and a seat and chair and pedals where I can go in and practice. I play on iRacing. It's almost all road racing. Yep. It's not. I've never done rally, but like road racing is a lot of like hairpin turns. You got to slow down like 40 miles an hour after coming out of like 120 miles an hour down the path. And if you hit the turn just right, you can really get this like crazy run of speed down the next set of chicanes or whatever. It's wonderful. It's exciting to like get good at. It genuinely grates against my brain though. Like every time I'm trying to catch that guy and I'm pressing the slow down button. Like why am I pressing the slow
I don't
down
want to
button
do this.
to catch him? And like he's pressing the slow down button too. I should stop pressing the slow down button so I can go past him, but that's not how the coefficient of friction works. I'm going to slip and I'm going to hit the wall and then I'm not going to be catching him at all, right? So I have to, but like I hate it
that's
every
why
time.
You got to use him as the wall. And
that's
get
right.
on the inside.
That's right. It's not rubbing. It's just bumping. It's not wrecking.
Yeah, I've always had that problem with racing games. I oftentimes will use the wall as my steering. I keep going too much. I was curious about just the driving up in the mountains and stuff too, because a lot of times with some of the other talks we've had, we're just doing these podcasts, whatever it is I'm doing here, is a lot of it's. I've been finding out like, people's kind of like Zen modes. Is that like your like recharge time, being able to get up in the mountains? Do you have something else, or is like driving around that Zen
there's
moment
always a little bit of stress for me with that experience. It's more of like an adrenaline kick
to
go up. Even if I'm driving safely, there's still the experience of like I could decide to go a little bit faster right now.
Yeah,
there could always be a cop around the corner who's just had been having a bad day and decided to come up and harass the people who are having a good time. And it's never happened. I've never even seen someone pulled over up there. But like that sensation of like this is technically against the law does stress me out. As someone who is very much a pattern follower, I love systems that are put in place and watching those systems work the way they're supposed to, and knowing that I am sort of I'm grating against that system in that moment stresses me out. There is a sensation of relief when I pull over and I'm like, I get out of the car and like look at the view of like, okay, we made it without getting caught, and the sensation of speed is always adrenaline like inducing for me. Like anytime I've gone to like a go-kart track, or something like that, and I get like a very strong sensation of speed, no worries about cops or anything like that. There's still that same sort of sensation of coming out of it and being like, we did it. I accomplished it. And that's almost when like the happy juice hits the brain, right? Where during is like, it's fun, but it's also stressful. Versus like sitting listening to music, playing racing games on my computer, playing kind of like playing Minecraft is very much a zen place for me. Just go mine the trees, or chop down the trees, convert them into the pieces I need, go up, put up another section of roof, go back down, plant more trees, harvest the ones that have now grown, and just loop that for like 4 hours. That's more of like a zen spot for me.
Well, yeah, it's just interesting because when you hear zen, you think I guess it comes down to definitions. It's like when I say zen, I guess I mean like you're in your own world kind of zone. And for me, like riding in the summertime, riding my motorcycle out in the countryside, while it's obviously not a relaxing, like I'm not sitting on my couch reading a book or in the sun or whatever, playing a game on my Switch or something, right? It's like I'm out there actively doing something that is objectively dangerous. And but to me, I'm in a flow state. I'm in a zone. I'm so focused, hyper attentive to the road, what's happening around me, that to me, sometimes I'll get home and I'm like, oh, I want to go back out. Like I feel safe in that moment, oddly enough.
Yeah, no, it is very much a safe space is a good way to put it, and like a very satisfying feeling to get done and to know like I did that. Here's the pictures I took while I was up there. Here's like the music I was listening to and just the view around me. It's such a different experience. I don't know if you relate to this. It's such a different experience to go up by yourself versus to go up with someone in the car with me, or to go up with a pack of cars where we're all going together.
That's cool.
Each one of those completely different, like unique experiences.
Yeah, I was talking to. I think I actually talked to both CJ and Stumpy about this thing too. About just sometimes it's really incredible to either go to a new place or a place, have your own space to be in. Stumpy's like, he loves just walking out by the countryside by himself. Or CJ I was talking to is like, I love being in a new city by myself. There's something, I don't know what the word is for that, but there's something freeing, maybe, I guess, that you have to answer to nobody at that moment. So yeah, getting out by yourself is like something else.
Yeah, for sure. The being alone in a city thing is it's kind of fun. I've definitely had some moments of like I'm in a city for a gig and I have a day to kill, and the other talent aren't in town yet, and I'm just going to walk around. Oh, there's a museum. I'm just going to walk through this museum. No idea what to expect. Oh, there's a free section. Cool. I'm just going to walk through that. Maybe I'll buy a ticket. Maybe I won't, you know. And there's something very safe about cities, especially like central downtown areas, which maybe is like a false sense
or
of
deceptively
security,
safe.
Yeah, where it feels like there's a lot of people around. Like I can walk into just about any of these buildings, and the worst thing that's gonna happen is someone's gonna tell me I have to leave. You know, so I kind of relate to that. But I'm also very much a creature of pattern and habit and routine.
Okay, yeah.
Which very much does not gel with our work schedules and the way that at any moment someone could call and be like, hey, we need you to go and do this thing in another place for 3 days. And like, oh, well, there goes the schedule I was starting to build.
Yeah, that's interesting thing. So how did, like, are you the opposite of everyone where we're like, we don't want to work 9 to 5? So you're like, I'd love to work a 9 to 5.
Every time I have worked a 9 to 5, I have been happier.
Really?
I've been better at like just knowing what to expect, especially the jobs that don't follow you home, where you're just able to go and like
shut it off.
Yeah, the moment you're done, you just like you leave the office and you just drive home and like the one of them, and I haven't had many 9 to 5s though. Like one real job I had out of college before the esports thing took off had one of the craziest, weirdest schedules I've ever worked. It was you worked Mondays to Wednesdays. And then Wednesday, it was you were on for 3 days. You worked for 3 days, so like Monday through Wednesday.
Okay.
And then you'd be off from that. You'd be off for 6 days. So from Wednesday to Wednesday.
Oh. Okay.
And then you'd work from Wednesday to Monday. You'd work for 6 days.
Oh, interesting.
And then you'd be off from Monday to Monday. So it was this like, and it was a 3-week rotation. You would work 9 days in 3 weeks.
What was that, if you don't mind me asking?
I was a stage manager, so it was this really strange thing where we had, it was honestly kind of like we do a lot with like casting schedules and like figuring out like who's gonna do what. It was this brilliant system where there was 3 of us, and there had to be 2 of us there at all times. So there was always I could draw up the schedule. It's really kind of this like genius little system where like if you're on a 6-day period, you are going to have the first 3 days is going to be someone else's 3-day period.
Yeah.
And then the last 3 days
is going to be
the beginning of someone else's 6th day.
Yeah.
And then their 3-day, right? And it was this like cool, like constant like overlapping. But you got built-in 6-day periods of off time.
That's nice.
Either every 6 days or every 3 days. You had 6 days off all to yourself. And it was great for YouTube or like doing like that was when I started my YouTube channel, was when I had that job, and that was what turned into Rocket League. But for like scheduling like a weekly podcast. Like, no, I can't do Thursdays at 8 p.m. every week, ever. Because every other Thursday I'm working. So it was, I love being able to have those, like, I had a roofing job one summer coming out of college where it was just, we would wake up super early and we would work until the heat got too hard. Usually around 2 p.m. we would just shut it down and we'd be like, all right, I'm going to come back tomorrow morning at 5 a.m. And then we'd all go home, chug water, get on Xbox, play Halo and Call of Duty together, go to sleep, wake up, go to the job. That was amazing. I love
Yeah, you
that
like
so
that.
much.
Okay.
And there's a way that was also like the college. I was 19 years old, right? So like college age, like not a lot of responsibilities, not a lot of aspirations, just happy to make some money and then play video games and sleep.
Yeah,
Like, make some money and play video games and sleep.
I feel like the social aspect of that really helps carry any of the monotony that can be there as well when you're
Absolutely.
that age.
Oh no, yeah. If it was just me going home and playing video games by myself, I wouldn't have loved it nearly as much.
Yeah.
But the fact that it was a group of friends getting on to play all the time, I really love that.
Yeah, I find it interesting. Then that you're like, I want this routine. Like in my opinion, having doing this kind of work, it's like they're almost too much of it, but there's a lot of freedom, a lot of free time. But I personally find a lot of that time is stressing out, like saying I should be doing something. Hence, sitting down to this. My other channels have started. It's like I'm like, okay, I have to be doing something, which also ironically brings in a bit of stress to it of never being able to actually relax, because I'm like, I should be using all of this time to do something. Do you find the trade-off in balance for not having something as rigid to the freedom a good thing, a bad thing? Where do you find that line of having this?
I think everybody looks at our schedule like we have, where it's work on the weekends.
Yeah.
If you have a gig during a weekday, great, but otherwise just find ways to fill your time that'll help you prepare for that weekend gig or help you keep getting more weekend gigs. And the schedule's kind of yours. You can do whatever you want. You can wake up whenever you want. You can walk to food. You can you're your own master. That sounds like the dream.
Yeah.
For me, it is very much I am accountable for my own productivity. And when people like on gigs will always be like, "Oh, Caleb, Wavepunk, you have such a good work ethic. You always show up and you're like so attentive." And I'm like, for me, the hard part was just getting here. Once I like woke up and like got dressed and like showed up, at that point, I'm not gonna like not work. What, am I like sit around and like be lazy? Like, no, I'm here for a show. You're gonna think poorly of me if I don't do all the work I can. So I'm gonna work pretty hard when people are there. And the same thing was true of like 9-to-5 jobs. If I just show up and someone is like, "Hey, we need you to do this thing," I'm like, well, that's my job. Like I was saying earlier, like I love systems, and like when a system works well, I see myself as the gear in the clock, and I'm like, I want to be a gear that's turning well and like making my part of the system function correctly. So I love that. When it comes time to sit at home at this desk and go, well, what am I going to do? It's so easy to be like, well, let me look at some YouTube videos, and then 4 hours go by, and I'm like, well, now it's time to eat some food and play some video games, go to bed. And I was like, well, I did nothing today. Like, you could argue it was productive, but like I've done a few years of just rationalizing away, wasting time, instead of like actually being productive and actually setting up time to do things. My partner and I have started doing like work together days where she comes over and works at this desk behind me.
Oh, that's really cool.
Also works from home. And just having another person in the room who's being productive,
feels like an office
workspace. She's working, so I gotta work. And I get more stuff done. So like I have to find new systems. The freedom seems great. Actually turns out to be a trap.
Yeah, it's a really hard balance. I mean, I wouldn't say especially, because I'm not going to say other people will find it easier, but with someone with ADHD, it's like getting anything started is extremely difficult. And oftentimes the only way a lot of times my brain will get the dopamine release is if I'm doing a thing I genuinely want to be doing. And oftentimes that thing I want to be doing will take up 2 weeks of my time, where I've now just done absolutely nothing. So getting a routine of like, okay, get a little bit of work done on this video, this recording, whatever it is, every single day is very difficult. I'm starting to get there. I'm starting to find a system, but doing like a to-do list or a calendar thing was good to keep my brain in the right space of like, okay, I have something to do today. I'm not just going to forget about it. And there's more likely chance to do it, but I could just get to the time. It's like, okay, it's 8:00. I said I want to edit this video. I'll just do that in an hour. Like, are you able to follow the calendar schedule? Because it's so hard for me.
When I've done it in the past, I've gone through spells where I really scheduled in my time out. I'd be like, all right, I'm gonna wake up at this time. I'm gonna eat dinner at this time, and then after dinner, I'm gonna work on this video for this many hours, and then I'm gonna prep notes for the weekend for RLCS, and then I'm gonna go get lunch, and then I'm gonna play a video game, and then I'm gonna stream for an hour, and like my entire day is blocked out. It's usually good. It's usually very productive. I'm very proud of myself when I get to the end of the day and I actually stuck to the schedule. My thing with routines, I benefit very greatly from routines. the moment the routine breaks, my brain's like, well, now it's broken.
I already broke it. I may as well keep breaking it.
Like, I see it's like there's the only pattern now is to have no pattern. It's just, I'm the same way with working out or like practicing something on a weekly basis. The moment if I do Duolingo every day for 4 months, I'm gonna keep doing it until that one day I miss it, and then I'm never touching it again. Like I have to like really dig down deep and be like, okay, remember, start the trend. I got to get like 3 days in. I got to reestablish the pattern before it starts going again. So.
The only thing that keeps me, because I accidentally I had a streak broke. I had like a 60-day streak, and then but my partner Tesla, she's doing it as well, and her streak's really like she keeps doing it every day. So it's the same kind of thing as you said. Having someone behind you working is like there's a weird sense of reliance, like they're relying on me to succeed, even though they're just doing their own thing. It just feels like there's more importance to me doing the thing because they'll be disappointed maybe, I guess, if I don't.
I mean, I also my partner does have more or less a 9 to 5, and so there's a way that I always feel a little bit guilty about the fact that I have so much free time. But technically, I don't have to do a lot of things, right? Like, as long as I'm like watching Rocket League and like I'm up on what's been happening with that story, and like go to my like 2 meetings I have a week, and make sure I'm like done like my little bit of prep. But I've done a lot of work to get to the place where I'm good at doing my job now. And like the actual upkeep on a weekly basis isn't that much, especially when I am working like 3 days a week. And so, she could totally come over and just be doing actual work, just sitting there, just nose to the grindstone. I'm just sitting here playing video games. And, like, that's fine for business, right? But I feel guilty. I feel bad about the fact that, like, she's working and I'm not working.
It's
I
weird.
should do some work.
Because, like, there's no responsibility. It's not like you not doing work is making their life worse. So it's a weird thing that we feel as humans, like, oh, well, I feel guilty for doing something I don't have to be doing. It's an odd bit of psychology.
I had a terrible. It was a wonderful moment, but also like a terrible like confirmation bias type experience where there was a video game I got to do a show about recently, and it's a newer game, and I have tweeted about it like 4 times, and I got to do the show. It had a nice paycheck that came with it, and I was like, how did they know I was playing this game? And I was like, oh, it's because I tweeted about it. Like, literally, those tweets directly turned into a paycheck. And my brain's like, see, I should spend lots of time on Twitter. This was good for business. And it's like, well, I mean, this baby, we can balance it out. Like, you can tweet those things and also not spend just hours just scrolling, Caleb. Come on. Like, but it was this rationalization in my head of, like, it turns into money. And, like, you can balance things out and still get all the benefits.
To get yourself in it, like, because I'm certain it won't work for me. Everyone's got to find their own systems. But, you know, you say that you'll sometimes you like systems, you get yourself a system. Once you break it, it's easy to stay keeping it broken. But the fact you got a system in the first place, you know, it sounds like one of your systems, again, is having someone there behind you working, so you feel that guilt. But if for someone that wants to try to build a system, like, you can't really give them advice on what to do because everyone needs their own thing. But what do you do to start that, like, pattern building?
I'll often say that, like, the hardest thing for me every day is just getting out of bed. Like,
I'm pretty sure I messaged you the other day and we're like, hey, you want to play some Snap? And we're like both in bed still.
Literally still in bed. Yeah. Like it's not that like it's actually difficult to move my legs out from under the covers, right? It's that I love being in the bed and I don't want to stop being in the bed. And motivate myself like, no, you will feel better if you do the thing you don't want to do right now. You'll be happy about it later. Like looking into the future and imagining how you'll feel then. And then taking that feeling and turning it into muscle movement right now.
It's hard.
Like move, get up, do the thing. Like don't actually stop. It's like, for me, that's the hardest part. And I think for a lot of people, that motivation of like actually just taking the first step. If they take the first step, they're good. The momentum will keep it going. But yeah, if you take that first step, it's like literally it's so like the phrases you've heard your whole life that you've like they've stopped holding meaning. Things like Nike's like just do it. Right? It's like, you've heard that 1,000 times. You don't realize like no, it genuinely does mean that. Every time a teacher ever told me practice makes perfect, I'd be like, yeah, sure it does. And then one summer I just practiced my butt off on guitar, kind of on accident. I went to like a guitar camp and there was nothing else to do, so I just practiced guitar.
And now you're perfect.
And I got to the end of the camp and I was like, oh, I'm so much better at guitar just because I just like actually practiced for like an actual hour a day. Like, you mean if I just did this every week, I'd be an amazing guitar player? That's crazy, right? So like, just do it is such a, it's so simple to say. It's so hard to do. I don't judge anybody who struggles to actually get the ball rolling. And it's why like when I have friends who produce, they'll be like, hey, I put together an album. I made an album of music and it sucks. I'll be like, good job. I'm so proud of you. I'm so impressed.
Because you did it. Yeah.
You actually did it. It does if you just keep doing it, it'll get better. But like, I'm not doing it. Like, I know I can make good music, but I'm not making the music. I've got stuff here. I'm doing my best to actually just do it with the music thing this year. That's one of my main goals. I have produced some stuff recently, but like still like watching Turtle, whose music is great. Just continues to be like, I got another one coming out. Every time he says it, I'm like, Caleb, you gotta look at him. He's doing it. You have the same job. He's doing it, and you just gotta just do it. Just sit down, just write the music, put it out. It'll be okay.
You got something coming? Are you working on some stuff?
There's a few songs in the works. Nothing that is like pipeline. Like I can tell you, like in the next few weeks, be ready for this. Part of me is struggling with what do I as Wavepunk produce. I've never put out a song and been like, this is Wavepunk's music, you know.
I feel like that's a creative like hole you could like not want to put yourself into though, because I feel like now you're making the music sound like it's like having to make a YouTube channel and being like the algorithm's like you're only allowed to make this kind of video now because that's what your audience wants. And it's like and now creatively you're just so stifled.
Yeah. So trying to figure out and it's a thing that musicians run into all the time, that like they'll make some songs, they'll go massively viral, and then they are trapped in this, I have to make this specific sound for the rest of my life. The world is getting a little bit better about giving artists freedom to be who they are, but I also don't call the fans aren't like wrong for not wanting to listen to the new stuff, you know? So it's less that I'm worried about pigeonholing myself and more that I'm like, I know that the first time I put something out and be like, this is my song, everyone who gets an impression, who likes anything about music and who has any positive emotion about me will give that first song a shot. Yeah. It's if they don't like it and then they see I put out a second song, they're probably not giving the second one a shot. Yeah, so it's tough. Like and I love making like really like big orchestral music. That's what I've actually spent probably the most time of my life producing. I love making EDM, electric, poppy type stuff. I also have a very big folk bent, and I'm good at making like guitar type music. And part of me wants to try and like blend all three of those. I think that'd be a really kind of cool fusion, very Wavepunk-esque sound. But I haven't done that a lot of that, and I don't know. It's hard. It's not easy. So it's picking which one it feels like is the best way to represent myself. Also, I'm really bad at writing songs that aren't like just a profound, deep emotion, which is so much more intimidating to like put out like, hey, I took a shard of my soul, crafted it into a song, and then put it out here to the internet. And if people aren't like, that's the best thing I've ever heard, I'm like, you hate me, and I hate myself now. You know, so.
That's tough. I think it's just tough with art in general, because there's that balance you want to hit of, I am creating something because I want to create it, and it's for me, and that's what art should be. But you know, you're putting it out in the world for a reason. You want others to experience that thing or that piece of you. So yeah, I can see how like when you put that thing, you feel personally offended that that them not listening to or liking it is.
I'm not like upset at them. I attack myself. I go like, I didn't do a good job. If that like, I'm like, that song to me was really powerful. If you're like, oh, that was nice, I'm like, how did I mess up? Because how did you not hear this the way I heard it? Right? It's the whole like, there's an idea in my head. I'm trying to get the idea into your head, and if the idea makes me cry, so if the idea is in your head and you're not crying, then I'm like not confident that I did a good job actually getting the idea into your head.
That's really tough, because like experiences are like, you can listen to one song one day and it be the greatest thing you've ever heard, and the next day you're like, what was I? Yeah, it was okay, you know, and you're not crying.
And like you could. the reason something me and my partner watched the new Puss in Boots movie
Okay.
yesterday.
Yeah.
And it's if you haven't seen it, it's gorgeous.
I was
It's a
going to say
gorgeous
thumbs up or
movie.
down.
It's definitely a thumbs up movie. Good movie. And I've never been like someone who was particularly fond of the Shrek universe. It's one of the big things that differentiates me from my own generation.
Before everyone else, yeah, I was going to say, we have to
everyone
cut this
else-
podcast. I'm sorry. We'll see you later. We've kicked him
Yeah.
off.
I don't know. I kind of don't get it. But it was like it's wonderfully animated. There's the kind of like main antagonists are pretty fun. There's this one kind of like almost like side antagonist who's like just great. But there's this theme of family and belonging that is really powerful, and that's a theme. Anytime those themes pop up for my partner, it's so powerful for her. I'm pretty sure we're receiving the same idea. I don't think that like the idea is any different. The idea that's in her mind is any different than the ideas in my mind, but because of her past, those things make her cry. It leans into her experiences, right? So it is in no way fair for me to say that like, oh, I wrote the song about the profound, the traumas I went through in my childhood, and that you didn't go through, and so it makes me cry, but it doesn't make you cry, and so therefore you're not hearing the idea I have in my head. It's not. I don't know. It's not fair at all. But there is a part of me that like, it just keeps wanting to like say, can I just write songs about like having a good time or like having a party with my friends or something like that.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't have every song doesn't have to be like the next epic saga of Caleb Simmons.
I'm curious. I'm sure you've. It's not like I'm going to be a mind blowing producer here for you, but like, have you thought about just creating a bunch of stuff that you don't show anyone, and then eventually trying to see which direction of those? Maybe once you listen to them all back after creating a bunch of different sounds, you're like, oh, that actually is the one. Once you hear it relative to the other things you've created.
I have done. I've made so much music that no one's ever heard.
Yeah.
And it's there is the stuff that I'm like, ooh, I'd be proud of this if this was the first thing that people heard in association with Wavepunk. Can I make a whole album out of that? I don't know. That was kind of a drop. That was kind of like a lucky drop in the bucket. There's also like the weird experiences of like, this is we're kind of tangent into another topic here, but like I grew up in the church. I grew up in a with like the entire lens of my worldview was through this religion.
Yeah.
And so many songs I wrote had these really thorough, thick, deep, layered imagery and symbolism and double meanings that to other Christians I think would be very, very powerful, good songs. I look back at them and I'm like, man, that was a good song. I wrote a really good line there. That was really great. I don't feel confident and comfortable anymore playing those songs
Because we're representative now.
Right,
Yeah.
and the idea that somebody would it's something that will resonate with them. They'll be like, "Oh, this is such a good song," and they'll come to talk to me about it, and I'll be like, "I don't believe it anymore." And they'll be like, "What?" That would be such a break, and like that would suck for me if like there's this one artist,
Yeah, that's tough.
this one artist named Sophia James. She just graduated from UCLA. She's like a jazz singer. Songwriter. She makes music on TikTok. Her stuff is amazing. If you want to hear like really well written lyrics that are combined with really good music, go look her up. Her voice is incredible. And she just wrote an album about going through a breakup and the heartbreak that came with that. And it was the most well worded, like piece of art that has like nothing has ever captured the emotions of a breakup I went through like 10 years ago that has very much shaped the rest of my life. The song she wrote helped me heal from those wounds from 10 years ago. Wow. It's powerful. It's amazing. If I met her and I was like, you helped me so much. She was like, oh, thanks so much. I just assumed this experience was like for people, So I just kind of like put it into words. I'd be like,
what if that?
I thought you went through the same thing I went through. Like it's not like it just I want to know that, like it feels like I feel connected with a little bit, and it's almost like parasocial way,
Yeah, I guess
it's fine, but still there's a little bit of something lost there. It's just like I don't believe what I was saying,
It's hard because it comes to the question of allowing art to transcend the artist itself, right? To you see it more commonly when an artist gets canceled or something. It's like, well, can I listen to the music I liked before? And it's I don't know. I think there's no wrong experience with this. I think thinking the artist and the music have to be attached is perfectly fine because that might even enhance it for you. But it's tough because as as someone that tends to, I don't know, I feel a lot of emotion a lot of times. It was quite the opposite. I went through even with depression, it was like I felt a lot of emotion from other people a lot. And so I tended to be able to empathize. And like I sat down, I'm like, can I put myself in the shoes of a dad that just lost his daughter? And something, even just speaking that right now, something inside of me just swelled up like an emotion, a pain, a want to cry. And it's like, well, could I be able to write stuff about that, and would it be disingenuous? And I guess you could look at like an author, like George R. R. Martin didn't live in medieval times and swing swords, right? So is it almost the same concept with a musician?
Yeah, I don't know. It's I do think there is a way that it would be disingenuous for you as someone that has not gone through that experience to write that song just generically about what you imagine it to be like. I've had friends or other music writers who have had like people be like, could you write a song for me and my wife for our wedding?
Okay.
I wrote a song for a friend of mine when he got married, and I haven't gotten married, so there's a way I don't relate, but there is a way that I know them, and there's a way with like the positive emotions. I feel like it's a little bit more acceptable. If In my mind, yes, the author has to write characters that they didn't live through, but there is also a lot of experiences with authors where they will go and find people that have had those experiences and talk to them and like try to understand them as best they can. There's literally a subreddit called Men Writing Women, I think, where it's male authors writing a female character, and it's like so clear that they haven't talked to women about this experience, and like that they're just, this is not how a woman would experience this moment. I do think it's important, if you're going to represent an opinion that you didn't experience, that you do some degree of research so that it is the people that have experienced that will feel seen, and not sit there and go like, oh, you clearly don't know what you're talking about, right? Which is why we write from our own experience so much, because we don't have to do any research. It's so much easier just to go, what have I experienced? Let me write about that, and no one can tell you you're wrong either, right?
Okay. Yeah, it's just an interesting thing, because I would not, I don't know if, because I've seen songs too where, an artist has said afterwards, oh, I wrote this from the perspective of a character I had imagined in my head so that they could put themselves in a scenario that it's okay. Well, I didn't go through that, but it was a character that I imagined experience. I mean, there's a band I was listening to, I Fight Dragons, that that had a long, and it was the whole album was just this long story concept album essentially, but one of the songs was about the story of these two people that had their own completely different lives, but it ended up meeting. It seemed to clash, but it turned out they're perfect. But it wasn't the artist that wrote it didn't go through it, and I guess I never looked at it like, oh, this person's lying to me, because they don't know what that's like.
No, and it's not a lie, especially if they. And even if it is art, right? It's an expression of an idea. There is a certain degree, a certain suspension of disbelief, a certain suspension of truth. I think that we acknowledge that it's a piece of art. That when you use imagery, when you talk about, I saw the falling star in their eyes or something like that. It's not like you actually saw a reflection of a meteor in their eyes.
They're lying to me. I can't trust this author anymore.
Exactly. Like there's a way that like imagery is powerful. So it's okay to like write from the perspective. It's so funny that I'm just like thinking back to the songs I wrote growing up. I did that thing exactly what you described. I wrote a song about a family that lost a daughter. From the daughter's perspective.
Interesting.
She died at like 6 years old or something like that, and it was from the from the perspective of like, from this Christian worldview of like, she just got to go straight to heaven. She got to skip the hard part of this life, and like her just being like, I'm getting to go have a good time, kind of thing. Like the song was, I literally titled the song "Death," and it was like a super positive, happy song.
That's good. But it's almost a practice in empathy by doing that, though, right?
It is. Yeah, it is. I mean, and it was funny because I wrote the song, and I thought it was a pretty good song. Eventually, I kind of like morphed the song to just more be about the concept of dying, more about the concept of like if I was dying.
Okay.
And because I did feel, though, I was like, if I were to ever play this for that family, would they feel seen and valued, or would they feel this real hard dissonance of you didn't go through this, and it feels crass and disrespectful that you thought you could possibly speak to the most unbelievable pain I've ever experienced.
It's tough because
and
I
you
guess
put it in a happy song. Like, what's wrong with you? Like, it's weird.
Because I guess and I guess it's up to the listener because they could also look at that and say, I appreciate you trying to understand us, or regardless of whether you went through it, it did connect with me and it made me feel better about the scenario. Or they could look at it and be like, how dare you? And it's now as a musician, is that your job to try to, because if everyone's going to experience it differently, is it almost better just to put it out there and hope that some people do experience good from it?
What is the job of art? Like, what is the job of a musician? Like, people have debated for centuries, and they will continue to debate for centuries. I saw
so we're going on a 3-hour podcast now to debate ourselves, right?
Yeah, we're gonna solve it right here on the dojo. I saw a TikTok the other day of some guy who made a piece of art and managed to go it was like a reverse heist. He went and hung it in an art museum. And the whole point of the piece of art was that art is meaningless. This piece of art was not designed to have any meaning. Why do artists always feel like they have to have their art have meaning? Just let it be colors on a piece of paper. It's fine. And it was so funny because you went and hung it up as this protest of modern art. And then everyone in the comments is like, weird, your piece has so much meaning. You specifically imbued it with a meaning. The meaning was the art doesn't have meaning, therefore it has meaning. This is it's weirdly pretentious to be my number one thing. This is a feeling I have a lot about art in general, and it's interesting to think how does this play into what we were just talking about? That communication, right? In my mind, art is a language. It's a way of expressing an idea. And when I have an idea, I'm trying to get it into your mind. A lot of the words I pick are chosen by who it is I'm speaking to. If I'm trying to explain this idea to a 5-year-old, I'm going to choose very different words than I'm going to choose speaking to a friend who's about the same age as I am. And the entire communication line is built around the idea of I know who is hearing this, and so I can make my communication built specifically to the mind that I am trying to project this idea into. As an artist, the problem is you are projecting this idea to you don't know how many people or how in what circumstances. You genuinely don't know who is going to consume your art unless you write the song and it only exists when you play it for the specific audience you chose to, right? In general, if we're making art and putting it out publicly, you as an artist, I think, have to let go of the need for your audience to hear it the way you meant it. You need to be okay. You need to make peace with the fact that this art is going to become different things to different people, which is exactly kind of what you're talking about with the artist Sophia James I was talking about earlier. She wrote a song that very much resonated with me. And if she were to be like, oh, I didn't experience that, or from a friend's perspective, there is a little bit of loss, but I still don't. The value doesn't change for me in that song. If she was like, I don't believe it anymore, I don't think you should think that way, right? That's when it was I guess I was making the comparison to religion earlier. And that's where it would start to feel really bad for me as an artist if someone would come and be like, your song meant something that you no longer believe. But yeah, I think it's really important that artists let go of their audience needing to hear it the way they meant for it to be heard. Yeah,
maybe you could frame it just do the Wavepunk archives. And just throw it out there. Hey, here's things that I did go through. They may not be representative, but here's things I've made.
Yeah. No, it's definitely, that's a thing for the future, though. You don't start with the archive.
I'm a new artist, and here's 4,000 songs.
Here's my best of album. First album, best of. The early days.
That's it. Yeah, no, I want to hear some of your stuff. I mean, again, seeing my colleagues like Isaac. Putting all that out there, and he's putting some pretty personal stuff out there too with his music is so awesome to me.
He and I have talked a lot about struggling to write songs that are just fun, that are just bops. And because the inspiration just doesn't flow if I don't feel like I'm trying to say something. Trying to come up with a good lyric. What even is a good lyric if it doesn't have a deeper meaning to it? Right? So,
it's gotta be.
But it's so funny that when I listen to music, I don't listen to the words usually. I love the music of it, and the words are just a vehicle for the voice to give me a melody. And then if I really like it, I might go back and listen to what are they actually saying here? My favorite songs are the ones that have the meaning that plays into my life in some way.
I
I just struggle with writing lyrics that don't mean things, despite the fact that I don't care.
Yeah. It is really tough because I'll listen to music that I'm like, I really need to feel something that means something to me. So I'll listen to a song that I know the lyrics do that, or I want that. But then sometimes, I was like, I want lo-fi hip hop. That's not that deep, you know. It's right, but no offense to the artist making lo-fi hip hop. To me, it's a different feel for a different.
Lo-fi is one of the best new genres of music. Like, if anything, in my mind, kind of like encapsulates the 2020s and the time of period we're going through, it's lo-fi. It is the least offensive, most warm, easily appreciable. I've never met someone who was like, I hate lo-fi. Like, everyone's like it's acceptable, it's enjoyable to everyone, even if it's not your favorite thing. And I've had moms. I've had friends that they're talking about their moms. Like, I just found this YouTube channel with this girl like doing like her homework with a cat, and I just like listened to it for hours. And it's like, yeah, mom, me too. It's really good.
That's cool. Lo-fi hip hop has transcended all subjective opinion on music, and
it's blended so many like those. It's just warm sounds. It's almost like you know that music written for cats. You ever seen that?
No.
It's music specifically designed for cats. It sounds very alien and not that comfortable to us, but it's just like a compilation. Yeah, it's just like compilations of sounds that very instinctually will be attractive to cats. And like cats will try a little perk up, they'll kind of come over, and then they'll just curl up next to the speaker and just like purr and just like go to sleep because they're like really enjoying the sound. I feel like lo-fi hip hop is
that's it for humans.
For us.
Maybe the aliens watching us right now have figured it out, and they've sent this to us. All right, let's make them docile, let's chill them out so we can take over.
To destroy themselves here. We need to chill them out.
We need to calm down the zoo right now. That's that's so funny. Yeah, no, but again, I'd be if this is any help for motivation, I'd love to hear stuff as just a friend and seeing that, being able to put something out like that. Because again, with Isaac, I love it. So I'd love to see that from you as well.
I appreciate that. I can send you some of the stuff I've been doing.
Hell yeah. No, I'm down. I don't know. Maybe because we talked one time about for my videos getting you to do something. Maybe I'll try to kickstart if you have time.
Write you a little jingle.
Figure out something like an idea. Maybe we'll work on that. But you kind of turns me into, because you're busy. I assume because with Twitch Rivals, it's not just Rocket League that you do. That I kind of want to talk about that a little bit here, because you have that throughout the week. You're doing that outside of RLCS, and that's got to be like. At least at the beginning, not having done it, it feels stressful trying to do a bunch of titles that you don't know. But I assume you have a rhythm for it now.
At this point, there's not a lot of new ones. It's just the new ones are the games that come out this year. There's not really a library of games anymore to go through. There's very, very few games that have been out for longer than a year that we haven't touched at some point on Twitch Rivals. I generally, FIFA's the one game that they keep on doing, and I keep on kind of encouraging them. You should find someone that loves FIFA. I've never played FIFA. I have no interest in playing FIFA. I don't want to disrespect that community by coming on and trying to fake an energy for this game that I don't care about. But other than that, every game's been kind of touched. It really started by trial by fire though. First gig on Twitch. So the first Twitch Rivals originally was just a battle royale show. It was just PUBG. So I did a lot of PUBG with them, and then they did this big revamp, built this big studio, and the first game they had me come in for was going to be League of Legends. And so I prepped for League of Legends for a while. I'd played League growing up. I had 200 hours in League at that point, but that's not much, and that was also a few years out of date. So not enough to commentate, but enough to host,
to ask questions,
and to ask informed questions and to not say stupid things. But then they 2 days before the show, they're like, by the way, we're having you do StarCraft instead. I've never played StarCraft, not once. Luckily, there's tons of material out there to help you prep for StarCraft. But I
and in the spirit of this podcast, just going with the flow and seeing where it ends up, we've ended up with a dead internet connection from Wavepunk. And he'll not be on for another few hours, so I'm not going to take any more of his time already. I'm very appreciative of the time I've gotten to spend and listen and learn and discuss about things here today. If you guys enjoyed it and would like to see where the rest of that conversation may have ended up, and you'd like to learn a little bit more about everything Wavepunk and what's going on with his busy schedule and maybe other topics too in the future, comment below. I was going to try to cycle through everyone in the scene first, but if you guys really want them, we can get them on for another episode to finish off or have another conversation. So yeah, let me know in the comments below. Like it too if you would like to see some more Wavepunk. Either way, thank you for sticking through this, and if you're watching any of the other episodes on the channel, I appreciate that as well. I hope to see you all in the comments in future episodes, and I hope you enjoyed.